Okay, so the reason it took me a little bit longer to get ready for this one, I was like, give me like another hour finishing up one of the worst movies that I've had the joy of watching. Can you guess a movie that I haven't seen it's kind of horror related? I wouldn't say it's a horror movie per se. It's certainly frightening and weird and crazy. Any guess? It's an old movie from 1975.
1975. Are we talking about like Toxic Avenger? Are we talking Trauma?
No. No. This is a infamous, upsetting, controversial movie.
Oh! Is this Cannibal Holocaust?
No.
Okay.
That's another one, but no, Cannibal Holocaust I could handle, and I handled this, but man, it's just like, ugh. What are we doing? I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this. I want to say it. I want to, be able to, add it to put it on the resume, as it were, especially for a nice little Halloween episode. And it's a just couldn't wait for it to be done.
I mean, you're leaving me in anticipation here. I can't think of anything specific.
So, did you ever see Salo or 120 Days of Sodom?
No, my buddy told me all about it, and that's a Criterion movie, man. That's a very, very famous film.
I can't believe it's a Criterion Collection film.
Well, isn't that the point of it? Isn't it just supposed to be an exploration of like the most fucked up, depraved stuff you could ever imagine, essentially?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it is. I have the Wikipedia pulled up. It says art horror film. So, all right, but yeah, it is basically. What's wild is because I was just trying to, I was like, what am I watching here exactly? Pull it up, and it was written by some guy in a prison cell in France. In like 1780.
Yeah, well, that's the Marquis de Sade. He's like the super famous. Yeah, he's the guy that Jeffrey Rush movie Quills was based on. But that was his whole thing. Was like he was a fucked up, lecherous kind of anti. He was very against the establishment. There is apparently supposed to be some sort of like political subtext to the reason why Salo is so messed up, but I've never actually seen it or like looked into it too hard, so can't say for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those films. Like I feel like I was like, well, let's talk about some different things that I would recommend people going and checking out, and then there's some things I'm sure we'll get into that. It's like I want to appease the listeners who want the most intense hardcore experience that is out there and available. There's a few recommendations there, but man, this is just another one where you're just, oh man, you're just, the structure of it. If you're unaware, basically, this takes place. The film version, the 1975 film. It's an Italian production, Italian director, I think, and basically like Italian fascist Nazis, kind of like a ruling class. I don't know what they are. They
the bourgeoisie,
a little bit
kind of thing.
The bourgeoisie, exactly. But they, these like four guys basically, kidnap like 10 teenage boys, 10 teenage girls. They've got some thugs. They've got like actual like Nazi guards and stuff like that. So basically like abscond with them, take them in a convoy to some mansion out in the outskirts of a major city or something, and basically treat them to just the psychological terrors of letting them know that, their families assume you're dead, and we're going to just experiment on you and make you do absolutely insane, horrific things while we all just, basically for our enjoyment and stuff. So, I was like, it's a like there's a whole like genre of kind of these creepy rich people, like Purge style Rick and Morty episodes where is it that hostile thing where it's like rich people essentially treating poor people as... it's like tourism and stuff.
Dark tourism.
Right. I mean, and this is right up there where with these insane kind of established, powerful guys are just doing unspeakable acts. Like I could speak on them, but they're just not fun. Like they're just, I mean, there's scenes that I don't think you could remake it. I mean, I think there's a pretty strong version that a reason this has never really been attempted to try to remake.
Oh yeah, you could only get away with
American
that.
Audiences
Yeah, there's shit that you could do in Italy in the 70s that you definitely could not do now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of scatological elements in this movie. There's a lot of sodomy stuff. There's sequences where they allude to certain things that are going to be happening. I mean, at one point, they're walking them around naked. They're almost always naked. Imagine being like an 18-year-old. You're basically constantly being naked in this house. You're getting just demanded to do weird sex acts on older weird men, male, female. I mean, there's insane cross-dressing going on. I can't even really get into how wild this is, but the most fascinating part of the whole movie, I think, is they have these kind of old career prostitute hooker madams that they have just telling stories. Like they gather them all up into like a ballroom, have them sit around like your story time basically, and these old ladies are just recounting the terrors of their lives, basically, of like one time a man, forced me to like put a diaper on him, and then I emptied my bowels, and then I fed him that as he acted out as a baby. And so it's like, it's both like arousing the creepy weird guys, but then also giving them ideas about what to do to these poor kids, So like, oh man, I mean, one of the ladies, she's like, oh, I attended a party where, a girl was like flayed alive, strapped to a wheel. And then another girl had a rat sewn up inside her, a very tender region that you don't want rats getting sewed up in. You know what I mean? It's just horrible, man. Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's awful. I wish I could say that's my number one draft pick of don't go watch this, but
you actually found something worse than that? I always thought that was the granddaddy.
No. I mean, believe me, today I was Ash went out shopping, and I'm in the middle. I'm just watching this with headphones, sitting here in the living room watching it. And I'm just like, when can this be done? And I'm in the middle of it basically, and Ash comes home and she's like, oh hey, what's up? Like she's like telling me things about how oh, I couldn't find this at the store, and all I can think about is
just scat.
Oh god,
scat
they're
rape.
they're eating, forced to eat plates of shit and stuff. I mean, it's just, you're like, I need to go to church, man. Like this is just, I can't get this out of my head. But no, there is. I mean, before we go, like, what is your number one most? Just don't watch this for a good time. Kind of a thing. Is it Serbian Film or something? Like, what have you got? You got some wild...
Well, see, everything I got in my head right now is, like, kind of fresh. So,
okay.
The first thing that's coming to my mind, even though it wasn't, like, actually that gratuitous, was actually the one that made me kind of cringe the most out of all the horror movies I watched this year was... And it's not even a horror movie, really, but I'll count it. Screw it. It was Swallow.
Oh man,
yeah,
you bastard! I watched that because you were like, "Oh, dude, yeah, like you should check out this cool movie called Swallow." And I'm like, "All right," and I didn't know anything. I didn't even watch the trailer.
Right.
And I was like, "God damn it, Volpe! Fuck,
sorry,
God, no, God damn it, no." Watching this, I was laying in bed on the iPad watching it, going, "God damn it, no."
So are you saying it? Did you actually give you a reaction, or were you just like, "Oh, this is boring"?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because that's the thing is, like, I mean,
how could you?
It's so much of it is implied. Like, I was amazed how classy it was. Like, really, like it's a really genuinely good. Like, that's the thing that caught me off guard because I had heard about the movie, but I hadn't seen a trailer, and somebody was showing it, and I was like, oh man, this is just a really good character study, and it says so much about the main character without her ever having to come out and say it. And there's some like other shit in the movie that comes out of left field that's kind of interesting too. So
do you want to give a brief description of what the plot is without going too far into it? Because this is one I would recommend you go check out.
Yeah, you would or would not?
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good movie. Yeah. It's certainly unsettling, but
I totally agree. It is like one of those things where it's the less you know about it, the better experience you're probably going to have. Like, I agree. I think the trailer is good if you want to get an idea for the tone, but it's kind of better off if you don't have any expectations. But yeah, the briefest synopsis is basically there's a girl, she's young, she's married to a handsome rich guy who's kind of an asshole, and she seemed to have married into it, and she's kind of getting treated like an object, and without saying much, basically it's a lot of like you kind of figure out this girl is kind of looking for meaning in her life, and she develops a disorder. Title kind of clues you into it. And it's just really interesting.
Which is a real disorder, by the way. Oh, yeah. It's actually a real thing.
I mean, that's the thing. I've seen so many reality shows that was like, it's not even a spoiler. She develops a addiction to eating things that you're not supposed to, and that's all I'll say about that. But like, we've seen, I feel like you and I both grew up on reality TV shows that was like my weird addiction, and like I eat pillow stuffing or something. But so like, when I heard of this movie, I was like, there's no way this is going to be compelling drama. But like the way they do it, it's like, and it's not, it made me gag because of the implications of it. Like, it leaves most of it in your head, and there's just like a shot or two there. But it's not, and it's also it's very how do I put it? It's like very humanistic. It doesn't like look down on this girl or anything like that. Like, you're totally in her shoes and you understand where she's coming from and everything like that. But so I was amazed that like, I think it was a little bit of the fact that I was so kind of caught off guard by it or whatever, but that was, of the batch of movies I watched recently, that was one of my favorites, I think.
And I'm trying to remember I can't remember the actress's name, but she is going to be in the upcoming Amy Adams movie where she's kind of like is that the like hillbilly thing?
Yeah, hillbilly something or other.
Yeah, so I mean, she's moving on up. You know what I mean? She's getting a little little better parts. But that I thought, wow, she'd be perfect for kind of a mountain West Virginia, Appalachian role.
It's funny that you say that because she does kind of have a little bit of Jennifer Lawrence energy to her, and that.
She does. She's kind of like a poor man's Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, like Jennifer Lawrence had her, I forgot whatever that movie was that she was in, but it was the same thing. It was like Appalachian, West Virginia.
Right, Winter's Bone, right?
Yeah.
Yep, well, that's how you get your big break,
Yeah, just eat weird things and do a meth drama set in West Virginia and you'll get your Oscar.
Well, there you go. Yep, no, I agree. I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I want to talk about it, but a movie that still really like haunts me, where and we've watched absolute horrible things in our day. You know what I mean? We've Serbian Film is one that I think people always kind of like. Oh, that's that for a while. I can't even hear the sound. Remember the theme song of Serbian Film?
Serbian Film is one that I've yet to actually see.
No!
It's
just don't watch it.
Is it not even? It's not even. Whatever. I'll have to put it on my list because it's.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. Kids out there, like if you're an adult, man, you want a real bad time. Think maybe Serbia. There's a reason it doesn't pop up on a lot of stuff.
Right.
There's a reason. But no, I mean the movie that I still that messes with me the most is. Did you ever see The Men Behind the Sun? You ever see that?
Oh no, I've never heard of that.
Oh, feel free to keep it that way because imagine, so in World War II, it's pretty well documented that the Nazis did all kinds of experiments on Jews and prisoners and gypsies and all kinds of stuff, like Dr. Mengele and all of his like experiments on twins and things, right? Like, but they did stuff like they froze people, like they put people in atmosphere chambers to see how a lot of the like it's fucked up, but like a lot of the knowledge that they had on how to pressurize jets and things like that, it came because they figured they experimented on people to figure out like how many G-forces can someone take before they die. So, you know what I mean? All kinds of horrible shit. Like how hypothermic can you be and still be revived? You know what I mean? Like a lot of that was all done in these horrible experiments. Well, Japan had their own whole thing called Unit. I think it's 731. I want to say, if you Google Unit 731, there's a movie from, I want to say that's the early 80s that basically kind of like it's like a fictionalized. It's not fictionalized really, but it's kind of like a dramatized horror exploitation film on this subject.
Wow.
So imagine a horror movie where you're just watching just the absolute most graphic, insane shit. And there's a lot of famous instances. Like I feel like the clips that get out, because I think technically they're still like you could put them on YouTube, are ones where they did experiments. There's one instance where a woman is left outside in the cold with her arms exposed in like snow, like below freezing temperatures for like hours and hours with her arms held out and kind of like, and they would just ladle like freezing water onto her arms to kind of keep them constantly being frozen. And then they bring her inside. And let me tell you, the film is based on the film's protagonists are a group of like kids who are part of basically Japan's version of like the Hitler Youth, where they're kind of just normal kids. Like they're not really evil. They're just part of, I'm not saying the Hitler Youth weren't evil, but I'm saying like these kids in this film, you don't get the evil vibes. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're just they're kind of
they don't even know what they're just kind of doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on, right? And they're kind of figuring it out, and it's pretty insane. So every experiment, basically, they just take the kids around like it's a goddamn pre-med or something, and they're like, watch this. We're doing an experiment on this and the experiments are being done on, I believe, Chinese citizens. Because they're in the Chinese province when they're doing this to these poor people. And, I mean, they bring this poor woman in with her frostbitten arms. They dunk her arms in, like, hot water, warm water.
No.
And she, so she pulls them out. And then the scientist just starts pulling her skin off like she's wearing gloves, and basically strips them to the bone. So she's just got like skeleton arms hanging out and she's just screaming. That was one. They do another one where they like have a guy, some poor guy, walk up to this door with armholes in it, put your arms in the armholes. And he's like, and they basically just blast it with liquid nitrogen, pull him out. So now his hands are like, and he's looking at his hands like, oh my God, what the? And this guy goes, now watch this. Like, they're very matter of fact. It's insane. If you can find the English dub where it's like humorous almost.
Yeah, like their straight facedness talking about such horrible stuff.
Right. You're listening to like a very generic like English dub version of this. It's almost more terrifying because they're like, take a look at this. And then he just starts smashing the guy's fingers and they're just coming off.
Oh my God.
Like, and the guy starts screaming, It's horrible. I mean, there's one where they put a guy in like a decompression chamber or something and they like crank it all the way up. And it's actually a cool effect because they found like a very skinny guy. They throw him in there. He starts having as they start cranking up the meter, he starts having a friggin' attack. He's dying, And so what basically is it's swelling his body. And then so they kind of like, they found some frames where they could kind of switch another body in there. And they put in like a big fat person.
Wow.
Not fat, not obvious. They didn't go above the mark, but they kind of,
it looks like
a body that's swelling.
Yeah.
If you think it's the same person, it looks like a very swollen body.
Wow.
And then it eventually, like, he's still moving around and like just in absolute agony as his intestines burst out of his anus. And just dude, I mean, there's and everything's pretty realistic. Like, it looks pretty good. You're watching it like, they basically perform a live surgery. I mean, they take like an 8-year-old boy basically and they rag him up with the ether rag or something, or, breathe into this rag, so he passes out, and then they just start slicing him up. They just start opening him up, and apparently the director used like a real autopsy to do this or something. So you're watching like a real boy get cut up. And then like, dude, it's brutal because there's different shots where you see his like heart beating as they're like taking his organs out and stuff,
Jesus.
man. You're just like, dude, man, like this is wild. So you're watching a kid get, I mean, and I can handle a lot, you know what I mean? Like, 8-year-old kids, yeah, that's one thing. There's a scene, man. Well, I'll never forget. Like, I'll never forgive the guy, and it's a matter of controversy to this day. But there's a scene where they throw a live cat into basically a pit of like hundreds of rats.
Oh no, really?
And, dude, the movie, like what you're watching, the film depicts a cat being eaten alive by rats, and it's so realistic looking that you think like, am I watching a cat get eaten alive by rats? And so certain people, it's a controversy to this day. The director claims that no, the cat was just smeared with honey and like a syrup and cornstarch and fake blood, and the rats are just licking.
I was
going to
say the rats are still biting that cat, even if that's fake blood.
They're biting that cat, dude. That cat is not having a great time. Yeah. And the scene goes on, man. The scene, watching a cat being eaten by rats, it's like a minute long, 90 seconds long or something. Like, and why, dude? And the guy's gotten death threats over it. I mean, the guy, like, the film's banned. I want to say it's like Australia banned it. I think the UK demanded like radical cuts be made before they could allow it to be shown there. But the guy, like, people to this day are like trying to kill this guy over that cat scene.
Jesus. I mean,
so
don't do things to pets, dude. Like, that's just like on top of regular life. Like,
right. Yeah, I mean,
people get up in arms about that shit.
Oh, dude. I mean, it is horrible. So that remains my number one. Don't watch it, man. And you can find, if you want to dig far enough, it's not hard to find. You can find it online, but it is just not a good time. It makes teenagers eating plates of shit and getting their eyes gouged out with hot pokers. A 2 on a scale of 10 for me. Watching a damn cat getting eaten alive.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, that's pretty bad. Whenever the poor animals get involved, then it's like suddenly takes it to another. That's when it starts to feel like a snuff film,
Oh, dude, it's horrible. And if that guy threw a goddamn real cat in there, I will find him either in this life or the next. I will fuck him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean.
But yeah, there's a lot of controversy. A lot of Chinese sites, that hate that the subject matter was covered.
Yeah, I'm sure that, like, the people,
the Japanese don't really appreciate this. So like certain people, there's been a lot of back and forth about what exactly, because the Japanese don't really want to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm sure like from both sides, both the Chinese and the Japanese are not pleased with it.
Well, the Chinese want it to be, want people to know that this happened in the rape of Nanking and all that stuff, because believe me, the Japan's treatment over the neighboring countries has not been especially China, has not always been the greatest. So,
right.
Yeah, that's a. If you're looking for one that's not fun at all, don't make your little sister watch that one. But anyway.
Nice.
Well,
okay. Well, I think if we're doing, like deeper cuts that are kind of hard watches. I have another one.
If you've got another one, yeah, feel free to abandon this topic, but go on if you've got another one.
Well, I was going through the list of things I've seen, within the last 6 months or so, and I guess it was longer because it was before quarantine. But there was one that I'd been meaning to see for a while, and I guess I saw it like 9 months ago, and totally blew me away. Have you ever heard of Possession? It's
So I heard of it just because you mentioned it, but I didn't see it. Is it new or is it from a few years ago?
It's from like 1981 or something like that.
Possession or Possessor?
No, Possession. So I saw Possessor too. Possessor is the new David Cronenberg's movie.
That's the new one that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and I'll probably get into that later. But, okay. But if we're on this topic of like kind of like deeper cut movies that are kind of hard watches, in terms of one of my like favorite deep cut movies, it's basically, this came out like I guess when Sam Neill was like kind of like a fresh actor, like he's like 30 in it, and it's basically It's a super simple plot. The whole movie probably has like 5 characters, but most of it is just Sam Neill and his wife, who is an Eastern Bloc actress. I can't remember her name, but she's fucking amazing in this. And it's basically the Sam Neill is a government wonk who comes home one day from a trip and finds out his wife is not in love with him anymore and wants to leave him for no explanation, and she hates him. And then the entire movie is just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's basically their relationship, like the fallout of that, like them deciding to get a divorce, and all the arguments, and Sam Neill wondering why she's suddenly acting crazy and everything. But it's like picture every time you've been in a room with your friends that have, like, you have those people that have like terrible relationships, like horribly toxic relationships, and like you're just like a fly on the wall. Like that is every single scene in this movie, but like turned up to like 25 on the dial. Like it's like, because and it's like this point where it's like people are overacting so much to the point where it just starts to hit surrealism, and it's not like bad acting, it's just like super going crazy. And basically it's not revealing too much, but the whole movie, like, there isn't that much of a plot, but it's basically Sam Neill wondering, like, what the fuck happened? Why is my wife suddenly, like, seeming to have gone crazy? Like, she literally seems like she's losing her mind, and like she's like kind of starting to take to these like destructive habits and violence and everything like that. And it starts to get there. Turns out they introduced some supernatural stuff like surprisingly late into the movie, but it's got this one crazy scene. All I can say is it's what is it? I guess it's the miscarriage in the subway scene is amazing, just as a piece of acting, and just like, and it makes you cringe just because of the level of like just people. The two main actors, just like the degree to which they like fling themselves around the rooms and like tear their shirts and flip tables and like just go fucking crazy. It's so emotionally wrought, and it's interesting, and it is like, yeah, it's definitely like in that weird art house horror movie pocket, and it's very funny at times, like in a weird dark way too. But yeah, I've genuinely never seen anything like it, and I definitely, like, I would say it's not quite like Sallow, where it's like just nonstop. I can't watch this kind of stuff, but it is just like, in terms of just emotional rawness, it's a very interesting movie to see. So. Put it on the list.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's. I think we were kind of saying earlier, like, like the last, I guess in the last month or so, just pounding, just trying to watch a ton of new stuff, some old stuff. I rewatched some stuff, but yeah, just new things or new to us. Because we were trying to find. What are some new things out there? There's just so much stuff. There's just so much. I didn't even watch the Haunting of Bly Manor, the new Netflix one. I didn't even watch it. I mean, I was like, I'll get there. I mean, but I've just so been much trying content. To find.
The one thing is, it's like, if you're trying to do a good, like, like, hey, here's some good horror movies type of review, like, you can either sink like more than a week or into Bly Manor or a TV show, or you can like watch like 10 movies in a week or something. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah. No, I mean, I wanted to catch up on some things that I hadn't quite seen yet. Some of it I felt like, God damn, this was a waste of time. Like I watched Bad Taste. You've seen Bad Taste?
That's a great one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was like, how is this a movie?
Well, so yeah, Bad Taste is, yeah, it's definitely
Peter Jackson's like student
super
film, right?
duper indie. It's like, it's good, but it's like kind of the momentum that led to better things like The Weebles and Meet the Feebles and was it Dead Alive? Dead Alive. Like once he starts in that level.
What was the? Yeah, and then Beautiful Creatures was next, right?
That was a little bit later, but yeah, like Beautiful Creatures. Yeah, but that's when I think Peter Jackson was like, yeah, like all the super. It's kind of like similar to Sam Raimi's trajectory, where it's like his best years were kind of when he was doing his super grimy indie roots, and then kind of like I think after he kind of hit commercial success, he became a little less interesting. But that early, stuff was great.
Another one that I was like, God damn it, what am I doing with my life? Was I was watching House. Have you ever seen House?
Oh yeah, the Japanese one is
the Japanese House, and I was like,
God, that's great.
I was like, Sam Raimi must have been a big fan of this.
Oh my God,
this is a lot. I'm seeing a lot of Sam Raimi influences from House.
That's like a movie that was made to be played in the background of college parties. You know what I mean? Like every single scene in that is like perfect for just make a GIF out of all of them.
Yeah. No, so there was a lot of classics like that I was like, I mean, and that was one that I watched with Ash, and she was like, what the hell was that? I was like, well, it's, it's like a cult classic, it's got a lot of early green screen elements. It's kind of a classic, but she's like, this isn't scary.
Of the what the fuck movies that you drag her to watch, at least that one is like, so what the fuck. You're never not bored, like it's there's something different going on every shot.
I put her in front of, let's see, because I've really tortured Ash the last like 2 weeks, where some of them I was like, well, and I've seen Silence of the Lambs, I don't know, like 10 times, maybe. I don't know. I mean, how many times have you seen a classic like that? She'd never seen it.
Oh, wow.
So, and Ash is like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like she'll engage with a good movie that is scary.
Right.
Because she's like, wow, this is great. And then what else did we watch? We watched Red Dragon after that, which is technically a prequel. Mm-hmm. Because I couldn't find Hannibal anywhere, like the Ridley Scott Hannibal, like 2002 sequel. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I couldn't find it. So, but watch like Cronos, just nice. Catching up. And that's not really scary.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, is that Guillermo del Toro's... Is that his first movie?
Yeah, that's
It seems like pretty polished for a first film. Though.
Totally, man. The thing that impressed me the most about that movie is between that and City of Lost Children, I got to give Ron Perlman kudos for being as charming an actor in two different languages as he is in English, because he's just speaking Spanish in that, right? I think.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's one that I can't remember seeing. I remember seeing pictures and glimpses and like clips of it, but I can't remember what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I count myself as ever seeing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was having that happen to me this month a lot too, where it was like everything kind of blends together, especially if you're watching them like when you're falling asleep and everything. So there's a few of them I think I saw and I was like, well, did I finish that one? I don't think I remember the last 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, I didn't realize Ron Perlman was like joined at the hip to Guillermo del Toro. I didn't realize they were involved in so many of the same. Like he just kept having Ron Perlman back.
Yeah, he was like his like, dude for like a minute there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, like with the Hellboy weird, falling out where he didn't get brought back to be the Stranger Things guys version and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think Guillermo
kind of makes more sense given the history context.
Yeah. Apparently, like Guillermo and Perlman were both like totally down to make a third Hellboy, and they never pulled the trigger on it. And now Ron Perlman's too old.
So what else have you been seeing? Because I mean, I got a whole list of crap that I've seen. Some of it I wouldn't recommend. I don't know.
Yeah,
did you catch?
I caught a lot of crap. Like it was a very mixed bag, and a lot of it was like things that were like not even like the good stuff I saw. A lot of it was good, but like there was a lot of stuff that wasn't much to write home about. So I can just read you off.
That's how. Yeah, go through it. See if we have some of the same ones.
Okay, just going through it real quick.
Are these relatively newer things that came out?
No, a lot of them's newer in the last decade or but like there's a few.
I've got like month-old stuff that I tried to watch, and then I was like, oh god, this is. But go for it. Let's
okay, so I saw From Beyond. That's one of my favorite, also kind of deep cutty cult classic movies. It's from the guy that made Re-Animator. It's a great little movie. I was going to try to do a Carpenter binge at the start of the month, and I quickly fell off that, so I started with the shitty ones I hadn't ever seen before.
Vampires?
Well, so I've seen vampires before, so I actually went further and did Ghosts of Mars, which was terrible, but like kind of fun in a B-movie way. And then I followed that with what I pretty sure is Carpenter's actual worst movie ever, which is Village of the Damned, which is so bad it's not even bad in a good way. And let's see, and then I did some classics I do every year. I did Evil Dead 2 and The Fly. I watched there was like a foreign, I think it's Chilean horror movie, that indie horror movie that's getting some buzz that I saw on Shudder called Luz, Luz, and it's about a girl who's a taxi driver who's like getting chased by a demon that possesses people in a police station. And that sounds like a very straightforward movie. It is not. It is interesting but very weird and hard to follow. Let me see. And then after that I did John Carpenter's Body Bags, which was an anthology movie that was pretty good. I watched his Masters of Horror episodes, which were not great, but pretty much none of the Masters of Horrors were. After that I saw Swallow, and then I did Possessor, which was Cronenberg's kids film. And here, I'll just go out through the rest of the list real quick. I did the WNUF Halloween special on Shudder, which was actually great, and I'll go into that later. And I saw Triangle, Sweetheart, Possum, Scare Me, Hasu, Little Monsters, Wounds, Behind the Mask of Leslie Vernon, 13 Ghosts, Books of Blood, The Lie, The Wailing, Mortuary Collection, Hubie Halloween, Girl Walks Home at Night, The Witches, #Alive, and like half of The Reflecting Skin and Hush.
All right, so I've got a few common ones in there. Let's talk about real quickly, because I watched #Alive like yesterday or today.
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't know. What did you think?
It was okay. Did you see Train to Busan yet?
No, I still haven't watched it. I was watching this because I was like, oh, this is more timely. Yeah. Is it the same guy or something?
No. I mean, it's just similar because, Korean cinema.
Because it's Korean zombies.
Well, it also kind of reminded me of The Hosts. No. Sorry, I'm getting confused with another movie I saw. But, yeah, I agree. I think it was, #Alive was all right. Like, I think Train to Busan, I'm only comparing it because Korean zombie movie with similar rules. It feels like it could have taken place in the same world. But, Train to Busan was kind of fun because they get, like, just it being on the train and then being able to play with the locations doing that. Put a lot more energy into that. I liked #Alive all right. Like it is a fantastic quarantine movie. I kind of wish I was watching it back in April or May because it feels so, apropos and everything like that. But it did feel a little bit like teenager movie. Like it's still trying to like not get too dark. Like my big beef with it was like as the character, not to spoil anything, but his food becomes an issue at a certain point, and I was kind of like wanting to see the character get a little bit more emaciated and suffer and everything, and it felt like they were trying to keep the tone weirdly light sometimes in that sense. But
I hated the writing.
Yeah,
I thought it was really bad.
Yeah. It felt like kind of like, I don't know, like a free-form zombie movie, or like one of those things where it's like pitched a little bit more at teenagers or something. I guess, and maybe I'm looking at that wrong, but it's,
I thought maybe it's the dub, maybe it's not dub, but maybe it's the translation. But I was like, this guy seems like a total idiot.
Yeah, I agree. And like I do like that bottle, not a bottle episode, but I guess like anything that takes place in an enclosed space and everything. So, it kind of reminded me of another actually very good indie zombie movie I saw, I think like 2 years ago, called Night Eats the World, which is basically the same.
I think that's on Amazon. I think I've scrolled by it.
It was a while ago, and
I know I've seen it somewhere.
It's worth a watch, especially if you want a nice comparison point to this. It's I think the zombies in that are slow zombies, and it's got like a different tone, but it's actually pretty cool. Like, same thing. It's like less about the zombies and more about this character, guys stuck in an apartment complex in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. And it's like kind of like it's kind of like an existential movie, like, you know, like the same thing. The zombies aren't the main part. It's kind of like wondering what the hell you do with your life now that you're stuck there. But yeah, so I totally recommend checking out Night Eats the World if you want a good comparison point.
Another one staying in Korea, The Wailing, I finally watched.
Yeah. So that was the other one that I had just watched too. Yeah.
I thought it was great. I mean, it a little bit too long.
Yeah.
I think it's like 2.5 hours long. So, and apparently they cut out the entire ending. They have like a whole nother ending they were going to do, and they cut that out.
Oh, really?
So it's either going to be longer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one part where I think the last like 20 minutes, it was like getting, like, I felt like it was a little too, like I was ready for it to end. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're and just to, I want to say is it on Netflix or is it on Amazon?
It was on Netflix.
It's
on Amazon now, and I think it's also on Shudder.
Okay, but it's an interesting movie. There's kind of, you know, it's kind of a more rural community, little town, village, whatever, in South Korea, and the main character is kind of a father, family man who is kind of a middle management role in like the police station. You know, where I think he's like a sergeant. So, I mean, he still gets shit on by his like bosses, but he's still in charge of like at least a few people or something. And then there's this weird outbreak of rash and violent murders and things that start happening in the community. And it kind of coincides with this, like a Japanese man who moved to like the outskirts of town. And so there's kind of this weird assumption that the guy is responsible, and I don't want to get into the spoilers of it too much, but there's kind of a weird back and forth. It kind of plays on like, I guess it has more elements of like possession and demons and
it feels very
crazy shit like
folklore-y. You know? Like it's very much leans into the like, it feels like, like a tale from another country kind of thing, you know.
Because the movie kind of like takes some sudden turns. It goes left, right a few times. Were you 100% understanding what is happening throughout this thing?
No,
because I was like, what?
No, there were parts that I definitely was like a little bit confused about. Like, you know, towards the end, I kind of ended up getting it as it went along, but there was like one or two parts where I was wondering if I missed something, and it's also got like a little bit of a weird tone sometimes. Like sometimes people don't act normally, so like, you know, sometimes like it just like you're watching it and you can tell you're missing something, but you're not sure if you're supposed to be missing something or if it's like something that's like culturally getting lost in translation or if you forgot a part or something like that. So I had a few moments like that towards the end, but you know, I got where it was going as it was going along. The movie had a lot of characters too, so I kind of got like I had trouble keeping track of some of them after a while.
Right, it's like a small town movie, but they filled it with just so many weird ancillary characters that just kind of serve no real purpose.
And it'll be that thing like, where they mention this person, or like you see this person briefly in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and that does not come back for like an hour and a half. And by that point, you're like, wait, who is this person again? You know, so...
and it doesn't help. I mean, our like inherent racism,
right.
We can't tell everyone that like it's Korean, like they all, you know what I mean. We're not following the names, or I'm not tracking the names. You know what I mean. So, I mean, maybe other audiences would have a better time, but yeah.
But that being said, and it you know, also it is a like a dark and morose movie, but it is very, very good. I like, you know, not as I wouldn't put it as like high up as like maybe, you know, Korea's like killing it with their cinema lately. So, you know, it's not quite up there with Parasite and all those, but it's quite good. So
you want me to? I'm looking at my list here.
Man.
You want one that's not good?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Have you ever seen the American remake of Martyrs?
Oh no, I didn't know that existed.
Oh, don't.
Is it also called Martyrs or?
Yeah. Jason Blum.
Oh well,
of Blumhouse or whatever. I mean, they made it.
He directed it?
Because I had seen... No, I don't think he directed... No. These two brothers directed. I'm trying to remember their names. But they just... they just squatted over that whole legacy of that great, incredible movie. I mean, they were like, let's fuck this up.
Oh man, was it like super toned down? Like, did this come out in the like when they were working on like Saw 6 and they were trying to churn out anything for torture porn?
Maybe this. So this came out 2015.
Oh, okay.
But there isn't, dude. Like, so if you're unaware, like Martyrs came out is French film. Came out, 2009 or 2008?
2009, like I want to say.
Okay.
Could be wrong. But.
And that's one of that conceptually, the plot, and you can't even get it too much into the plot without spoiling the whole movie. That's how crazy the movie is. You can't even really talk about it. And, but it has elements of insane torture and stuff, so,
that is like the selling point of the movie is just,
right.
Insane.
It is one of the more like interestingly, like Hostel is a very kind of like people torture people for fun. Like this is very, I would say it's a pretty high concept of why things happen in this film is very interesting. And I was like, wow, that's an incredible like take. And then the American version is just completely different.
Did they do?
They just ruined it.
Did they just like totally rewrite it and take out any?
I mean, main characters are just zigging and zagging. Imagine.
Did they change that conceit or whatever? The thing that we're kind of dancing around from the first one.
So pretty much like the actual plot isn't the same.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So I was like, well, why did you do this?
Yeah, like, is it even a remake at that point or whatever?
It's not. I mean, this is a, like, don't call this the same thing. Like, don't just besmirch the name of this.
Yeah.
This is the worst, just rip this name off for a cash grab and then make like a PG-13 shit bomb. I mean, like, I've never seen anything. I'm trying to remember like even the remakes of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff were better than this.
Well, you're making me think immediately of remember they came out with when they did the American version of Wreck, they came out with Quarantine, and it was like the totally wild.
I never saw the original.
Oh, okay. I've never actually seen Quarantine, so
Quarantine sucks.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Is that with the girl from Dexter? Or something?
Yeah.
Like a reporter. Yeah,
but that
you don't need to
that was one of those deals where I think like the original European version had a specific slant to it, and then like when you Americanize it, you just strip all that stuff out because American audiences won't go for that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of a worse translation that I've seen, and that's right up there with taking a classic. That it feels like Empire Strikes Back versus like Last Jedi or something. That's where we're at.
Oh man,
it's horrible. It's horrible. Where it's supposed to be the same thing, but not really.
Well, I mean, you were saying, like, it sounds like they kind of just slapped a title on it and just tried to pump it out there for money. And even though I love him, Jason Blum, that's his MO. With the good movies and the bad movies, it's all about making money. So he's
I guess
the
so.
Corman of our day.
I'm not above. I didn't want to. I wanted to tweet at him and be like, "Hey, I know it's 5 years later, but I just saw this and like." I gotta say, what were you thinking?
What's going on, pal?
What were you doing? What were you thinking? You know what I mean? Jesus. Speaking of which, I mean, I saw Invisible Man.
Are you talking about the original? Which one?
Well, it's another Blumhouse. No.
Yeah. The new one. Yeah, I saw that too.
Did you? They put it on HBO Max. The God.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I finally got to see it.
I saw that. That was one that it got so much hype, and there's cool parts in it, but I did not think it. Elizabeth Moss is, of course, fucking amazing and the center of the film.
Hold on. I have a real.
Oh, you got an issue?
I don't. Well, just I'm all for suspended belief.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But,
there's a few things that just plot hole wise don't add up in that movie.
And Elizabeth Moss is lovely, but you know what I'm saying. Well, like, do you? I just listen. I don't want to sound like like a dick, but
oh, are you talking about like could she do? Well, okay.
Well, do you think a guy who is living in that house, like, I don't know, man.
Well,
to quote Heath Ledger, does she have beer flavored nipples? Like, I never really could buy into the fact that this guy is just doing all of these acts for Elizabeth Moss. You know what I mean? I just can't. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, that was my thing a little bit, was the guy, even though I know he's supposed to like not be a real character and he's supposed to be, that's supposed to add to the mystery, like I was never really intrigued by him, and he's such a device. Like, he's just crazy enough to, have thought of all this stuff, but nobody else knows. And the thing that got me is the physical stuff, like, is the same problem a little bit in the Hollow Man that Kevin Bacon won from 20 years ago. But it's that thing where it's like, just because you have invisibility does not mean you're also like a ninja and have super strength.
Right.
Like, the way he dispatches these cops in it is like, there's like a few cool sequences. Though honestly, I had happened to watch Hollow Man not long before watching that, and some of the
with Elizabeth Shue, right?
Yeah,
she's like the
and that's not a good movie, but I'll hand it to Verhoeven. Like, some of the effects in that movie are fucking great, and there's some,
they still stand up.
Yeah, and like I had just seen Hollow Man, and then I watched Invisible Man. I'm like, there's a few cool things. Like, there's the one thing, there's a few good jump scares in it that I won't go into, but there's, in typical Blumhouse fashion, it's like you can tell they put, like, I think the budget of the movie was like $5 or $10 million, and like they put all the budget into like 3 or 4 scenes, and those scenes are mostly pretty good. And then some of the rest of the movie like is kind of boring. Like, I like how it works on a analogy level or whatever. Like, like the whole thing being based about an abusive relationship. I think that is interesting. I agree. Like, I wanted more backstory to figure out, like, why, same thing, like, why this guy was into Elizabeth Moss, but also why, and I know it's like abusive survivor's trauma, but like, I wanted to know, like, what is her character and why is she staying with this dude? Like,
well, she has a scene where she goes like, why me, dude? Mm-hmm. Like, you could have had anyone. What is this? What's going on? And I'm going, yeah, what is going on here, dude? Like,
yeah, I
wouldn't you just be a Dan Bilzerian banging like a harem?
Yep.
Like, I don't understand what's going on.
Same thing. Like, I feel like they should have fleshed that out more with his, because I feel like if I had more of an idea of who this guy was, I would actually be more scared of him. Because, like, when they reveal him at the end, I'm like, oh, cool, it's the dude from Hill House, and he wasn't bad or anything like that, but he wasn't like intimidating. And I feel like if they like kind of like really delved into, like, like when you watch a good documentary on like HBO about somebody that has like an abusive relationship, like, or they got that Nexium cult thing, whatever, going on. And like all of those things always like make sure to lay out in very vivid detail, like the psychology of the person, that it makes them scarier and everything like that. So I actually think the movie would have benefited more leaning in to that stuff a little bit, because like the Invisible Man stuff, like there's like 3 scenes where it's cool, and for the most part I kind of like, it never wowed me enough aside from those like brief moments,
right,
and
no, I that's kind of how I feel.
And like, I could see him, since it made a lot of money, I could see it being like, okay, they'll do a sequel, have a bigger budget, they could expand it and do more with it. Like, okay, I'd be into seeing that or whatever. I think it's like the guy that wrote and directed it, he's I forgot his name, but he's the guy that did that movie Upgrade like a year or 2 ago. So I like that he
with the poor man's Tom Hardy.
Yes, exactly. So I like that he's like getting in the Blumhouse pocket, and same thing. I like that Blumhouse is like doing that thing that people were saying for a while, that they should just like take the Universal monster people and like take all the monsters that Universal owns and just give them to Blumhouse, and somebody will come up with a good spin on it, or they won't and they'll forget about it, and you can just go back to the drawing board 3 years later.
Yeah. Tell me about Scare Me, because I tried to watch it, but I have not seen it yet. Didn't have time.
Yeah, I liked it. I gotta say, Shudder, gotta hand it to them. I know this is like.
I know every year I'm like, should I just buckle down and do it? And then I'm like, that's the 8th streaming.
Yeah,
so I'll have
exactly.
That.
I mean, I'm nice. My friend's nice enough to let me use his, so that's probably the main reason I've been using it so much this month. But yeah, they definitely got some good gems on there, and yeah, Scare Me is great. Did you watch the most recent season of The Boys?
No, I still have not started it yet. So I'll get to it. I just was like, oh, cool. Is there like some weird, crazy, new superhero characters that aren't in the comics? Like,
yeah.
I'll get to it.
Yeah, it's basically the.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. The one.
Like, this trailer doesn't look like any of the comic books. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're super far off the comics, even more so than the last season. But yeah, the one of the main characters in this season is the girl from You're the Worst, if you've ever seen that.
Right. Yeah, the redhead, right?
Yeah. So she Aya Cash, she's really good. I like her. I've only seen her in You're the Worst, and I did like her a lot in this last season of The Boys. She's got like a very specific, she tends, at least from what I've seen her, to kind of be playing similar characters to that You're the Worst pocket, where she's a very sarcastic kind of asshole, but very
right, just kind of grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy and very like rapid fire with the quips and everything like that. So she's playing another one of those characters in this film, but I liked it a lot. I think the guy that's the main character also wrote and directed it, and I think he was like a College Humor guy. So I think that's how he got to know Aya Cash. And then really the only other character in the film is Chris Redd, who's the dude from SNL, who I like a lot. And very simple plot. It's just basically the main character is some dude who is getting a cabin in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York for reasons unknown, and then he ends up running. Turns out the girl across the way from him is Aya Cash, who's a super famous writer, and they run into each other, and his power goes out one night, and she comes over, and they start daring each other to tell each other scary stories, and that's the whole movie. And like the thing that's I like about it is it's like it's it's kind of like a little bit like a play. Like the entire thing is just these three characters telling each other stories, and like they do actually tell the stories, and the stories themselves are interesting, and they'll do things where it gets kind of meta. Like I like little meta moments like that too. So like somebody will be telling a story and they'll be sitting on a couch, and then they'll pause for a moment and they'll be like, if this was a movie, I would be dollying in right now. And then the camera starts to dolly in on them. And so there's a lot of things like that where the even though they don't pretty much never actually like show the fantasy sequences that they're talking about, they use all the language of cinema, like with the lighting and with the camera movements and everything, and a lot of like Foley sound too, to kind of like get these ideas across. And it's pretty light, like it's a small movie, but yeah, I had a good time. I think that was one of the more interesting ones. So yeah, kudos to Shudder. I think that was one of the better ones I've seen this month. And just throwing it out there since I'm on the topic, they had one come out a week ago that I thought was really good too. Like they keep on like having new things on their banner. But
this is like they live all year for this.
Yeah, I mean this is their Christmas, I'm sure, or whatever. But
absolutely.
But the new one that they're promoting is a movie called The Mortuary Collection, but it stars our boy Clancy Brown, and it's just another horror anthology where he's a crypt keeper type, like he's a old creepy guy that runs he's a mortician, and one day there's like a hot girl applying to work there, and he kind of it's kind of similar to Scare Me, I guess, a little bit. They kind of one way or another end up telling each other scary stories, and in this one, because it's one of those horror anthologies, you actually get to see the stories play out, and the stories are actually, it's all pretty well done. Like, I think it's the movie's done with a nice level of slickness, and Clancy Brown's doing a great job chewing the scenery, and like, as with all horror anthologies, there's like some I like more than others, but I think it's pretty well done, and that's every Halloween I'm always looking for at least one good horror anthology movie, and that one very much scratched my itch this year, so definitely recommend the Mortuary Collection.
Did you kind of just, like, on the horror anthology, did you get a chance to see the Monsterland on Hulu?
No, I had wanted to. I kept on passing by. I instead tried to see some of those like Hulu original movies, but the Monsterland seems interesting. Like, is it just another horror anthology show?
Yeah, but it's pretty good. I've seen, I want to say there's, I don't know, there might be 8 to 10 episodes, something like that, and I haven't seen all of them, but I've kind of jumped around a little bit. The first one is, the first one stars the, God, I'm trying to remember her name. It's the redhead, kind of a redhead from Booksmart. Do you remember? Not the other girl.
Oh yeah.
God, what's her? The other girl has like a, what's her name? Like Marnie or something, like, or some.
Oh yeah. It's like an old lady name, but she's.
What is her name?
But
it's not that.
You're
one.
talking about
right.
What's his name? Superbad's sister, right?
Yeah, Booksmart, the movie that is basically just a ripoff of.
Yeah, but that's what's his face.
Orange County and Superbad.
Yeah.
That's genius filmmaking.
Hold on. So
I just love that everyone thinks that's like the most incredible movie of all time, and it's like,
Well, yeah, but isn't so? Okay, so the redhead is Caitlin Dever. Apparently,
she looks like she's, I don't know, I'm sure she's 28, but she plays like a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, she's like the straight lead, the one that's like not crazy or whatever. Like, she's the straight man to the other one.
I guess so. Yeah. And so she's, each episode went and got not a major star, but like someone where like semi-recognizable. Where in that first episode, it has the guy who, was in like fight, whatever, the Jonas Brothers MMA show. I don't know. I'll think of his name in a minute. But it's got a few like, you would recognize this guy. He's got like a crazy look in his eyes or anything. But the stories themselves are pretty interesting. They're all kind of fun. I've seen 3 right now. One that I've seen, the second episode stars the kid from Ozark, the kind of the squirrely looking white trash kid that is kind of dating the daughter. He's that kind of squirrely teenager kid. Anyway, so that's the one from him, and then I jumped around. I saw Kelly Marie Tran.
Oh, cool.
Of The Last Jedi. Bringing it back to The Last Jedi. She's back. You thought, who else is going to hire Kelly Marie Tran to star in something? Well, Hulu came out.
Your card.
There you go. So I haven't seen her episode yet, but I do have high hopes. And the another one I saw is basically a fisherman basically catches like a half-dead mermaid, and it's kind of like, delusional as he's like nursing her back to health and stuff. It's pretty wild, but everything is pretty horror. Okay. It's pretty grim. So, which I've enjoyed. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn it, Hulu. You come at me with you release Helstrom, and you're all excited about a show that you've already canceled.
Has it already been canceled?
Well, it got canceled because it was part of the
old Marvel universe,
Marvel whole thing, and
Disney,
it was dead. Dead to rights before. I think they came to the conclusion like, finish making it, and then we'll just put it out. But this is it.
There's definitely like a little island of lost children of those Marvel proproperties.
Poor
Inhumans.
Yeah, they stripped out any sort of. You wouldn't even know.
Well, I never saw the Marvel logo on any of the ads.
No,
for
not
it.
On. It doesn't run. It doesn't.
I had no idea.
They did not promote it as a Marvel property.
Yeah.
They changed the title screen name. I think they took out one of the L's.
Oh wow.
Because they were like, and the sister, is it Satana or Satanica or some shit or whatever her name is supposed to be. I mean, they were like, nah, that's too on the head, so we're gonna change her name to like
Fluffy Princess or something. Yeah. What's gonna go well with the kids? That's crazy.
But that show sucks. I mean, I watched the first episode and I was kind of done.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, what is this, Lucifer, or like, which people actually like, but this feels much more in that like WWB.
Yeah. I feel like they're trying to tap into
UPN
that CW
20
audience.
Yeah. I was like, this is bad. Like the acting's bad.
Yeah.
The main guy, his acting is wild. It's like they gave him 30 minutes notice.
Oh, really? They were
like, hey, listen, you're going to play this guy that's kind of an asshole. Imagine a combination of Chandler Bing and the guy from Big Bang Theory. But you're an exorcist.
Oh, my God. Ugh.
And that's basically what you get. Just a complete asshole that, for whatever reason, has a job where he's out just saving lives. So it just makes no sense. So
you could probably tell like everyone working on that was checking for their next gig. It's gotta suck when you're like, oh man, I guess this show's gonna be great. Oh nope, not at all.
I would have hustled a little harder than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe put some back into it, bro. Because this is this isn't gonna be it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get 10 seasons out of this. So like let's hustle, because now
Hulu
you're just
original.
that guy from that show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. I'm trying to think of what else did I see. Vampires versus the Bronx. Did you see that? It's like Stranger Things, but it's vampires.
Yeah, like I saw that advertised on the banner for Netflix like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and like it just got lost in the deluge of like content, but it wasn't any good. Like I didn't even see a trailer for it.
It's just. Nah,
I feel like Netflix is trying to lean too hard on getting that Stranger Things magic.
Yeah, I mean, they were like, kids on bikes. Okay, let's get some different looking kids on bikes.
Yeah. 80s references, Supernatural, kids on bikes.
Well, they were like, well, we've got the whole white kids in suburbs on bikes. Let's get kids on bikes in a city, and then but like I was like, dude, man, this is just kind of
Is this one explicitly set in the 80s, or did they at least keep it current?
No, it's current. It's present day, which also sucks because then you've got like, hey, let's get the character that like Instagram lives everything.
Oh no!
And then
that's a good point. Yeah, that's like a part of anything with
right,
youth.
And then I know I'm like an old man, but like
no, it sucks.
Man, like
I mean, it's just like
I don't know.
Yeah,
the kids love it. I don't know.
No.
But yeah, no. It just exists. I mean, it's fine. It's just it would have been great if they were like, hey, let's maybe just do it like Hurricane Streets, or do it like Kids or something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Do it like a little bit more of a grittier time frame.
Do you want it more like the Warriors versus Vampires kind of thing? A little bit more like.
No, I don't need the Warriors goofiness, but I'm just like, oh yeah, remember 1992 when just every damn kid was on their phone? Like,
yeah.
Why don't you just do that? Like, I don't know. I think that would have been fun, but like, I just hate the whole like.
Movies.
The timeliness.
Movies set after 2007 suck because of phones. Like phones and technology in general, just kind of like you always any horror movie you watch now has to have the same.
Well, there's just
cell phone
just
reception.
So much of the subplots and like they're like, oh, we went into their crypt and we filmed all the vampires on my cell phone. Oh, you can't see them because they're invisible. Like, oh, you woke up the vampires because your cell phone went off.
Yeah. It's just
dude.
And like all of the it sucks because it's necessary because if you need it for plot machinations, but it's just annoying because it's like we've all seen it before. It's like that thing about like how they'd say like all like more than half of the plots of Seinfeld episodes would have been solved had cell phones been around during that time. Like it's the same thing. Like I would just set every movie, in like 1990 because like it, it's the most interesting time you can have or most current time you can have without all that stuff coming into play.
Remember when we had to use MapQuest to get to like movie theaters and shit? You know what I mean?
I had some bad nights with MapQuest. I'm actually super glad GPS is a thing.
How many times did we have to drive to girls' houses with MapQuest? Just like, oh shit!
I remember
the movie starts in 45 minutes.
I definitely remember. What was it? I was driving my girlfriend home after curfew, got pulled over, and ended up getting lost in Anacostia at 4 a.m.
Oh yeah. No, it's a great place. Yeah. Murder capital, the worst place in DC. So,
But thanks, MapQuest. That really screwed me over. Yeah, man. But you notice that's like kind of the thing now. We're hitting that phase of nostalgia now, where the early 2000s are really kind of becoming the new thing, and I'm very curious what it's going to be like once the snake starts eating its tail, so to speak, and like once you hit like 2010 level of nostalgia, is the technology going to be so different that you have anything to even be that nostalgic about?
Well, the true full circle will be horror movies where a very simple element is simply removed, and now you're in a horror movie. But you would have been just in a Seinfeld episode in 1994. But it's like 3 kids on a road trip. Like imagine
now not having the cell phone is the horror. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like we're just we there's no one to call. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to change a tire. We don't know how to we're inconvenienced, but because we don't have cell signal out here, where like then it becomes dicey. You know what I mean?
You're 100% right. That automatically, just thinking about that scares me.
But I don't know. I basically yesterday I do something I rarely do, which I actually bought an entire season of a television show because I was like I need this in my life. So I was up on Pluto TV or Pluto.
I was going to say it was like
Pluto.
I was going to say Pluto, but I was like, I don't know if that's not another.
Every time I type in Pluto, it's like Play-Doh or vice versa. I always get it wrong.
They're equally stupid, so it's okay.
I'm just like, because I was like, because I was trying to find.
They got some good stuff on Pluto.
No, dude, it's excellent, and it got bought by Viacom, so I immediately was like, oh god, now it's gonna be ruined, But it actually just more content seems to be still streaming and working because. I was hoping that they were. I feel for years, like I would literally go on Play-Doh and it would just be the anime channel would just be like Perfect Dark or Ninja Scroll, like rerun over and over again. And so I was like, all right, what's going on here? I go to the Comedy Central and it's just Ugly Americans. Like they're just showing Ugly Americans. And I was like, holy shit, I'm just going to sit here and watch Ugly American. They had like 4 or 5 episodes on. I mean, that's always been really like a absolute favorite of mine from, I mean, it's like 10 years old now, and all of the incredible, like fun horror elements of that show. And the fact that it only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah. It was
I think like
criminally underrated.
Maybe less than 30 episodes total or something is just absolutely brutal. Get out there and go watch that. Just like, the incredible nonsense that they came up with, like the man birds and stuff, man. I mean,
I just love the animation. All those Ogden Block Studios things are fucking my jam.
Yeah, but basically, if you've never heard of it, go check it out. Try to find it online. Watch it. I bought the first season for like $21 on Amazon. You can buy all like 14 episodes. But basically, it takes place in this insane, weird version of New York City where monsters are living among us, basically as kind of like almost like as immigrants in a way. That's how they were kind of treated, right? Like
it's basically BoJack Horseman, but with monsters instead of animals, right?
But monsters, zombies, demons and stuff. I mean, there's like a contingent of like basically demons, but they're just citizens of hell. Who like are, part of the corporate structure and stuff and have their own things going on. But it is like it is wild, man. I was rewatching. I mean, there's wizards and magic. One of basically the main characters, this guy Mark Lilly, who is like a social worker and trying to get these insane monsters and things jobs, and so that they can take part in society and blend in and all that good stuff. But it's some of the funniest, most creative, insane plots that I think I've ever come across. I mean, my favorite episode is it Flight of the Man Birds, which are basically like half man, half bird creatures who only speak like expletives because they, like, the original man birds learned to talk from like a New York cabbie. And so they only speak in like they literally say like 4 or 5 phrases that are all like suck my balls and things like that, and then dude, if you can find the Man Birds episode, please go check it out. It's incredible. One of the main characters goes undercover basically and becomes a man bird, and then starts like on an underground like cage fighting man bird circuit where they fight each other to the death with like these big flappy appendages. It looks like they're just swinging their dicks at each other, but they're like it's covered in a sock. So it looks like a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert from like 1991, but they're like fighting to the death with these things, and then the winner takes the other socks. Like, it's most insane. Treegasm,
like good, yeah.
Do you remember the Treegasm episode? And they had like a ton of early,
lots of like Comedy Central voices of famous people.
Yeah, like I can't remember names, but the guy who was on. Who was the page on 30 Rock, the Midwestern guy, you'd recognize his voice, but like, the dude from Silicon Valley, he was, plays the tree. I mean, there's just so many cool voiceover actors that kind of got started in that show. I loved it. And then like classics, guys that were still involved in Archer, guys that were on Assy McGee, that were part of that whole Adult Swim crew. I just loved it, man.
Yeah,
so
that was
one of my happy purchases. It's hard to find, man. It's just not.
Yeah,
on
it's weird how it's like same thing. Like I know it's like it definitely has its stands and everything like that, but it doesn't have like you would think that they would be having that on at midnight on Comedy Central.
Right. I mean, it's perfect. Just put it on in the middle of the night. You got nothing else. Don't put South Park on for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Mix it up. Put it out there.
They should do that more. Comedy Central, if they're smart, they do like kind of like Adult Swim did, like before Adult Swim was a thing. Like just like get Duckman, get like all the weird.
The Critic and all that stuff.
Yeah. Get all the stuff that I have a harder time finding now. Basically our Nick at Night, but with like fucking, our animated adult shows. But, give me more of those, because I feel like there was, you have your Adult Swim, old rerun shows and everything like that. But I feel like Comedy Central has a whole bunch of those that they could, put up there just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah. I forgot one more because when I said Perfect Dark, I remembered one more that I found. This was actually cool. I didn't realize this was even a thing. I was just scrolling through Amazon and I found it. Memories. Have you ever seen Memories by Otomo, the guy who wrote Akira?
Is that the one that's like a trilogy or it's like an anthology?
Yeah.
I've seen the poster for it a bunch of times, but I've never actually watched it.
So the first vignette or video or whatever is a horror, scary, sci-fi kind of ghost story. I don't want to give too much of away, but like a kind of deep space crew gets a distress signal from kind of this weird abandoned old, spaceship, and kind of, they're not rescue people. It's not like an Event Horizon situation where they get sent because they're specialists at this. They just kind of go because they are close enough to it. But they're like a deep space salvage crew or something like that. And they get called in, and 2 guys go and board the ship and start going through it, and it's haunted and very interesting. So the first one is in the vein of kind of the Halloween horror stuff that we're talking about, but the second 2 stories are kind of not. To me, they're just not even really worth watching. You can watch them if you like, but they don't hold the same
weight as the first one.
No, man, the first one's incredible. And I think they run about like 45 minutes. They're not all the same length, but the first one is great. Probably could have made that into a standalone film. I think it's perfect as it is. It's like just long enough to make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check that out. That's one more. I think that's it. Do you have any other recent finds or anything? The Witches. Did you say you watched The Witches?
Yeah,
the new one.
Well, so I didn't watch the new one. I watched the old one because I had never seen.
Shit. Okay,
the old one.
I've never seen the old one. I watched the new one with Anne Hathaway, but not the old one. So was yours good?
Yeah, well, mine was good in especially if you go for that kind of like Labyrinth era Jim Henson special effects. Like it was amazing.
It looks scary because who is it? Bette Midler in that one? Or
it's Angelica Houston. Angelica Houston's fucking awesome too. Yeah. It's really good. It's like same thing. I don't have any childhood touchstone to it. Like I think I heard of it when I was a kid, but it totally was not on my radar. But it's the guy that directed it is like a weird 70s British filmmaker that's done like he's a weird choice to do this weird kids movie. So I think it's pretty awesome that they did that. But like I had seen I saw the trailer for the new one before I had seen the old one, and seeing the old one now, I'm like, oh man, it looks like, the new one really is kind of just a rehash, not as good rehash.
I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything, but do the kids turn into mice in your one? Because mine sucked. I was like, I was watching mine going like, how did the old one do this?
Well, see, the old one, that's actually, like the mice part is like when I got a little less interested, but like from a technical perspective, like just the amount of work that they had to do to like figure out which shots, they used live mice for a lot of them, and like they got the cameras on the floor and everything like that. And there is this sort of ingeniousness that you just don't get nowadays because everything's in CG, but like the way that they had to figure out which shots were going to be, animatronics and puppets next to a blue screen and which ones were going to be like wide shots of the mice. Same thing in that like dark crystal kind of way, like, just the way not only the craftsmanship is done, but the way they do the trickery is really impressive. But yeah, that's a substantial part of the first one. But like in the second one, it looks, or like in the new one, like in the trailer, it looked like it was like, okay, cool, more CGI. It reminded me of like Stuart Little or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was just so kind of goofy and over the top, and Anne Hathaway, it's like pick an accent and just stick with it. Like man. Where was she from in your version?
She has some weird, like I want to say French, maybe something like that. Okay. But same thing, like Angelica Houston was doing it over the top, but I don't know. Like she did, I don't know how to put it aside from she did a really good job. Like she still felt like a real person. So I don't know. I feel like Anne Hathaway, I feel bad for Anne Hathaway because I actually really like her, but I feel like she does try a little too hard sometimes, or sometimes she just gets stuck in roles where she just like, it's not selling it or whatever.
Well, I don't know. I'll get to watching the old one, but the new one's.
Well, I also really want Robert Zemeckis to have a good movie again. Like, I don't know.
Oh, no. I was like, all right, Zemeckis and Anne Hathaway, she's going to try hard at least. Yeah. And she tried, but man, it's just, I was like, this, it felt like a real movie. I mean, it but like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Even Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel like you and me could knock something out in 30 minutes and get at least a 75.
Yeah.
But even they went after it. So
well, I mean,
with no movies even coming out, you know what I mean?
I feel like that was one of those things that was like, oh, this was supposed to come out in theaters. Oh, never mind, it's on HBO Max. Like, I feel like not anything, but I think a lot of the bigger movies that the quicker they jump to streaming in light of all the COVID stuff, like that's usually a sign that I think studios are trying to like just dump whatever. Like you know, like Disney did that with like Artemis Fowl and like just movies they know.
You could tell the movies that were going to be real movies that just sort of didn't get put out.
Yeah. Some executive somewhere like, oh, thank God, we can blame it on this terrible disease and we'll still have jobs.
Oh yeah, no, it's probably saved some jobs, cost some jobs. You know, the pandemic is a fickle monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The wheel of fate.
You got any more recommendations for the folks out there looking for a fun watch or anything? I think I'm pretty much wrapped up.
I'm pretty close to it, but yeah, I got a couple more just random things. You know, same thing. Like I had a pretty mixed bag of what I saw this month, but two notable ones were this is another thing. I don't know if it's a Shudder exclusive, but it's on Shudder now, and it's called the WNUF Halloween Special, and it's an interesting concept. It came out in 2013, I think, back in the heyday when the VHS faux found footage thing was like really, really popular, and basically the conceit of this found footage movie is they really go out of their way to make it feel like this is like a ratty VHS you have in the back of your closet somewhere that you're pulling out, because everything's got the fuzzy TV, like horrible audio hiss in the background, and like when it opens up, like the big selling point of this thing is like it's ostensibly supposed to be a news broadcast from 1983, and it starts out with like the evening news and the corny news anchors talking and going over this Halloween special that's coming up, and then most of the movie is actually like a dude in a supposedly haunted house talking with some psychics and everything like that. But to make it feel like you're watching a live broadcast from the 90s, like something like I want to say more than half of the movie is just commercials. So they just had people film these fake 90s commercials that are very they're crappy, but they're authentically crappy, and it's interesting just because as you're watching this thing, and things start to happen, they keep on cutting to commercials. So something happens and then they'll be like, oh man, that's crazy, we'll have to cut to commercial, we'll be right back. So it kind of actually does help build up the tension. I wouldn't say it's I would say as a movie, it's almost like works best as something to have on in the background. Like if you were having somebody over and you're talking to them, as something to talk over, almost as like a Yule log kind of thing to have in the background. It works really well. It made me feel nostalgic for being a kid a little bit, because it totally put me back in that, like, I'm watching TV at 11 o'clock at night, in the living room kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting. And then I saw this movie on Netflix that was pretty good called Sweetheart. I had heard of this a while.
Okay, I think I saw that scrolling.
Yeah. I this is one I unfortunately, it's definitely another one where it's like the less you know, the better. All you can really say about it is it's about a girl stranded on an island. It's Castaway meets. I could compare it to several other things, but I think to say would give it away. And it's nothing amazing, it's nothing like earth shattering or anything like that. But I think it's just like, it's a 90-minute movie. It's a little scary, but it's still like PG-13 scary. Like I think the movie is PG-13 or something like that. But yeah, pretty solid, good rental if you have nothing else on the queue.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I got here is The Owners, that weird Maisie Williams movie. I don't know if I even recommend it. It's kind of a meh.
I don't.
But
is that that the other movie she had come out this year that wasn't New Mutants, or is that?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like it's just like absolutely deplorable people doing terrible things, and then terrible things happening to those people. She plays like the girlfriend of a douchebag guy who has a douchebag friend that go try to rob like an older couple, and then the older couple like turn the tables on them. But it's so kind of weird and corny in a weird way, and it's just kind of a meh.
Yeah.
So it's like, I saw it, it's kind of horror-ish, don't know if I even recommend it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just another kind of, hey, Maisie Williams, like, let's think about some of these. Like, we still want to have a career. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just keep saying yes.
Yeah,
You know what
I mean,
like, we gotta.
It sucks. She. I think like most of the Game of Thrones cast are pretty much at the same spot, unless they're like established actors. But all the kids are totally in that period where it's like, oh, this is gonna be. Are you gonna be a Mark Hamill or are you gonna be?
Has anyone broken out?
I don't.
Has any? I'm trying to think.
Of the Stranger Things kids or of the?
No. The Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Jon Snow's out there trying to do stuff, but nothing's really.
Yeah, I mean, not aside from the like people that were like famous Shakespearean actors or whatever. I can't think of anyone.
I don't think so. I mean, the guy who played Rob is on that like security detail show where he's like a Secret Service agent in the UK or something.
Oh yeah.
But like. You know what I'm talking about? Like, was it Bodyguard, I think is the name of the show?
Yeah, my dad was raving about that.
But, like, none of them have done, Kid Harington, they keep giving him movies, but,
yeah.
I
mean, Hodor's got his DJ career.
Oh, shit. Hodor's popping off more than anyone. Did you want to say a couple quick words about Quibi finally dying?
Oh, yes. Should we have a moment of silence?
Because you knew Quibi more than I did.
Oh, man.
Sure,
I was going to say, I could totally do a write-up on, like, 10 Quibi shows that didn't suck.
You've had intimate moments. You've literally been naked around Quibi.
I mean, yes.
You've gone to the bathroom around Quibi.
Oh, so many times. So many poops.
Yeah. So when did they send you an official this is the last day you can watch our terrible content?
I'm kind of curious about it because I assume they're at least gonna like keep it going till the end of the year. But I was watching a show right before this, and like you can tell it, like, some of the shows on Quibi are like daily shows, or they'll do them like a few times a week. They're like talk show kind of things, and you could tell this guy like just got the news that they were canceled right before they recorded, and like apparently the episode they're doing after this one is like going to be their last episode. So who knows? I don't know if it's just gonna like up and disappear at the end of the month. It sucks because they do have like there's a show that hasn't come out yet that is all about like the history of DC Comics versus Marvel Comics that looks kind of cool, but like I'm like, is this even gonna air? But like it's got to be the least surprising thing of all time. Like I think people.
I mean, this is one of those this will go down in history books.
Oh yeah, this is like
how to ruin $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
But another feather in Meg Whitman's cap, right?
Man.
How many companies has she ruined at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't...
With Jeffrey Katzenberg. Katzenberg's out there trying to hawk it to, like, Facebook and Apple and stuff.
Yeah, I think Katzenberg might not be the genius everyone always made him out to be back in the day. It's like one of those things where it's like, of course, how could you ask millennials that have no money that already get all this stuff for free on YouTube to actually want to pay money for it.
I was reading one little write-up, and it was like basically just a scathing, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
And it was like when they brought up the whole, did they realize that YouTube exists?
Yep.
and that that's already a ton of free content that you can easily watch on your phone? Like,
and their whole fucking thing with the I forgot what it's called, but how you can rotate the phone view and everything like that. Like
that's an insane boondoggle that probably cost them twice as much to produce the same shitty content.
Yeah, well, on top of that, they were getting sued because somebody else said they invented that shitty idea. So now they're in court battles over the shitty idea that nobody wants. Yeah, it is a shame because I could kind of picture some world where maybe if they had figured it out better, it might work. Like, I think one of their big things was like, there are good shows on Quibi. There's definitely like, I did subscribe to it for a reason, but like I will admit, there was a lot of filler on there, and I would say the biggest thing that they shot themselves in the foot for, especially during the pandemic, is like there were so many nights where I got home and I was like, or crawled into bed and I was like, oh, I'm tired. I only have 10 minutes of attention span to watch something. Oh, I'll watch a Quibi. But I don't want to watch it on my phone. That's the thing. If you could even just go to their fucking website and stream it there or anything, because there's just times where it's just like, I'm sorry, I don't feel like looking at my damn phone screen. And like, ironically, I think 2 days before they announced they were going under, they finally got an app on Apple TV Plus, but it's like the ultimate.
Right. I read that. Just a final weird twist. Twist of the knife.
But, you know, it's it sucks. I feel more bad for, like, you know, people working for them and everything like that. You know, like, I'm sure a lot of people were on.
Imagine thinking, like, I have stock options. I'm at the next Hulu or Netflix.
Next big thing. It's going to be.
I moved across country for the, you know what I mean? Like, how many of those people are there? You know, and like you're some developer or something.
Yeah, I keep on like looking at the layout of the screens, and like I noticed that they have like those things where like they have the people that come up with playlists. Like it's like, oh, here's our Halloween playlist and everything like that, and it's like.
Editor's choice, non-existent.
Well, it's still going on, which has got to suck because I feel like it's got to feel like you're the guy that's the lowly guy working the Titanic. That's just somebody's having you literally reshuffle chairs on the Titanic because it's like, cool. Here's I just want to see the one guy like get super irate and like make the go fuck yourself playlist or something. You know, like just see. You know, when you know you're
really leave his mark.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you know you're not going to have a job, you might as well just like Fight Club all of the Quibi videos or something. You know, like just insert one frame of dicks into everything and just see if anyone pays attention or notices or something. But
well, there you go.
Yeah, it is a little sad. I'll remember you, Quibi.
Well, there you go. I talked about too many shows. I don't even.
I mean, I could prattle off more movies, but. We'll just be here all night. Right. Yeah. Let's let these people go to bed or do whatever they got to do. So much.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope you heard some fun suggestions to watch. Do not watch those horrible ones that I suggested earlier. If you would like a fun time, a fun evening, please stick to the.
Yeah. These are warnings for your own good. The bad movies are bad. The good movies are good. Believe me, we have sampled a lot of shit in our day, and if Dave tells you something's terrible, that shit is bad.
I feel like the older I get, the softer I get in a way, where I'm just like, ugh, I can't handle as much as I could back in the day, man. We were watching Rotten.com and all this. It just took years off our lives. You know what I mean? There's not much tread left on this tire. You know what I mean?
When you only have so many times, when you're staring down the barrel of, that gun we call age, it's just like, do I have time to watch all this?
Yeah, like we don't have children, but we're kind of like, you know what I mean? We're it's like when you become a child, you know what I mean? When you have children and you don't see that 18-year-old stripper the same way.
Yeah, totally. We got cats.
Like us.
We got cats. It's like the same thing. Practically.
Yeah, we're cat men.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So we're thinking about my cats, and I'm looking at my cats, and I'm looking at cats getting eaten by rats.
Ugh.
And I just can't handle it. Can't have it on my soul. And just don't watch that movie. Watch anything else, almost anything else. Don't watch Helstrom.
Ugh.
That would be. Yeah, don't watch that. But yeah, have a great Thanksgiving. What holiday is it? Halloween?
It's Halloween, but the way this year's been going, it'll be Thanksgiving before you know it.
Well, there you go. Everyone have a safe COVID Halloween. Don't go out there trick or treating. Just buy bags of candy and eat them on the couch yourself. That's what I do.
That's what I'm going to be doing too.
All right.
Do your part.
Snuggle up with a good cat. Yeah, exactly. Grab your bowl. Grab a cat. Don't watch Men Behind the Sun or Salo. Go find a nice little Cronos. Go find a little house.
Yeah, house. Or yeah,
house.
Oh, you can snuggle up to a nice little swallow. You just watch.
Oh God, swallow is just Just have a nice time with
bag of candy. Bag of marbles, I should say. And then,
no, you should just play with marbles in your hand as you watch Swallow.
No.
God, that's eerie. Or tacks or whatever that. Oh God. Just get just root around in your junk drawer, see what you can find.
Yeah. And make sure to save the pieces when you're done.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Check us out on thedisorderly.com. Nick and I are out there gambling on the NFL games. We got the East Coast Kev, West Coast Kev. We're gambling. I'm take me to Vegas, baby. My record's incredible this season. I'm doing great. But yeah, we appreciate it. Keep an eye out for more weird, wild, fun reviews on stuff. If people keep making movies,
we'll see.
We'll watch them.
Yeah. If they're still around, we'll be there to complain about them.
Yeah. But rest in peace, Quibi. Again, we hardly knew ye.
Like your content, you were only around for a quick bite.
There you go. 10 minutes at a time.
10 minutes at a time.
One dump at a time.
10 minutes of existence.
One short fleeting bowel movement at a time.
Yeah, and then you were flushed away.
Like a fart in the wind. It is gone.
We'll miss you, Quibi.
All right. We'll miss you again. All right. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Catch you later.
Peace.